Hello, hello. It's Riikka Kovasin here with a Facebook Live. Let me just check first that the video is showing in the group. It seems that it is. Okay, I have my audio on, so now it's off, so shouldn't circulate then. So hi, good evening, or hey Lena, or good day depending where you are at. It's about 8 p.m. here in Finland. We're really going to the summertime because it's still light outside. Perfect. Hi Ann-Katrin, Anki. So happy you could join me. We are doing a mixed media mask today with some of the new Finnabair mediums. But if you don't have the new mediums, you could replace them with the older collection as well. There's not that many new tricks, let's say. You can use any kind of mediums, but well, just a fun little project to use those. This was actually the first project I did when I received the ambassador pack of the new stuff. Hey Nina, hi Diane. Hopefully you are seeing and hearing okay. So, the biggest, let's say, issue for me was to choose which set to use, because there are several new wonderful mica powder sets as well as glitter sets, but I chose the winter ones because their colors go well together, and partly because they go well together with the Metallique Flakes. And for a mask I couldn't choose any other than Venice, of course. So we are embellishing a little paper mache mask using some of the Finnabair mediums and molded embellishments. I popped a link to a reel in my Instagram to the event page if you want to see how these are made, but it's really simple, just hot glue to the mold, nothing too fancy or peculiar about that. Really easy to do, handy, as you can make as many as you like. The only thing you need to then remember that they are made of hot glue, so they will melt if you use a hot or heat gun too much. Hey Asta! If you can't hear me correctly or properly, please just leave a message so I can then check if I can do anything to get the better quality to the sound. Hi Dalita! Well, actually we should start. It's already 8 p.m. so let's get going. So, sound is good. Thank you, Diane. So, this is what we are making. Just a little mixed media mask. And the base is this one. So, it's just a bought paper mache mask. Of course, you could do this on your own as well, with thicker cardboard or teeny tiny with dies, for example. But this is ready bought from a craft store. Then I already added the kind of contours here using the same hot glue. So it then looks like there would be a kind of leather piping or this raised effect. So it just gives the mask some dimension. But then we are covering the whole thing with black gesso. If you would like to do something with lighter colors, for example, as this is sort of dark toned, then by all means use white gesso instead of black. Hi Denise! Thank you for tuning in. So the mask doesn't look much when it's white and the embellishments are kind of these clear see-through things. Hey Johanna! There are colored hot glues as well. So if you don't want to paint everything, then you could use those colored versions, but still they may look a little bit gluey. I'm not sure if that's a word. But to kind of mask it is to prime with gesso. And like I said, I'm using black, but you could do it with white as well. And then add a medium on top to kind of mask the medium, fool the eye to believe it's something that it's not. Oh, thank you so much, Denise. It's great to hear that you've been waiting for this. I'm playing, like I said, with some new Finnabair products, but there's the older mica powders as well, which you could use, not the new sets, or then you could even use a metallic paint. I'm just creating my own paint using the mica powder, and while I was using an actual golden wax for the sample project, I did grab the transparent wax as well, so we could try to create our own wax. Hey Patina, hey Pakati, hey Päivi. Okay, a couple of words in Finnish. Eli moikka moi, kiitoksia ja tervetuloa. Jos on jotain kysymyksiä, niin yritän pitää silmällä chattia tässä samalla kun touhotan. Niin kysymykset voi totta kai kirjoittaa suomeksikin tai englanniksi, ihan kumpi vaan. And same in English. If you have any questions, I'm trying to keep an eye on the chat. So just type them in and I'll answer them either during the live, or if I somehow miss them, then I'll go through the comments afterwards. I was thinking, should I paint the mask beforehand? But then the hot glue thingies wouldn't be so apparent, so I thought it was better to actually paint this live. So you can see that even though they don't look much when you first pipe them in, then using different mediums you can then turn them into something else, and it's a really easy medium, the hot glue, to create dimension and these kind of drawn dimensional details. Hello Laura! Okay, now the mask part is done, so let me prime these little embellishments as well, especially the sides, because I am using the metal flakes to turn these into this really shiny embellishments for the mask. But should the metallic flakes not stick to the edges, fail to stick there, then I at least have some kind of priming medium. And especially when I'm painting the mask with kind of darker tones, I find it easier to use the black gesso to the embellishments as well, because they are acting kind of like a shadow. So if I miss a part of the embellishment with the flakes, the transparent plastic doesn't show through, but it's more like a part of the project. So these, and as these are made with hot glue, I really can't speed the drying process with the heat tool. The gesso layer helps a little bit, so it doesn't start melting like immediately when you hit it with the heat tool, but still better to leave them air dry than to have a puddle instead of an actual embellishment. Just a couple of more. These are done using 2 different molds. These parts, as well as these big embellishments, are actually part of a frame, but I just didn't fill the whole frame with hot glue, just the details, and thus I got these little fan-like pieces. And then the lady, I think it's called Steampunk Queens. If you're wondering about the materials, they are all in the blog post, and link to that blog post is in the event page. I can add it here to the recording then afterwards, so if you don't have to go looking for it from the event site. Almost done. When I'm applying the primer, I like to use a bigger brush, and the Finnabair brushes are nice because they have sturdy enough but still really soft, those bristles I think they're called, so I'm able to add a good amount of gesso and still have it in the little grooves. Denise asks if there's any problem if she thins the gesso with a little bit of water to help it go to the spaces. Depends how much you dilute it, because this is acrylic based gesso, so as you're diluting it, you're diluting not only the pigment and the consistency but also the binder. So if you just use like a wet brush to thin it, that is okay, but if you add too much water, it dilutes also the binder, and especially in like harder surfaces like plastic, which hot glue is, then it might not stick as well because you're diluting the binder, but a little bit is okay. This is heavy body, so it's quite thick, but then another option to dilute it would be with a gel, but then you're not getting the same kind of chalky feel as with gesso, even though you would use a soft matte gel. Yeah, alcohol is a way to thin acrylic, but you can also remove the paints with alcohol, like rubbing alcohol. So if you have a surface and then you put alcohol on top, it will kind of loosen the binder or get away. So you can rub the paint off, because after drying, gesso don't react to water. So I haven't tried it myself. Robin is a fantastic mixed media artist, so probably it's okay. But, well, I haven't tried it myself, so I can't say that, yes, of course it well goes, but, well, if Robin says, I'm thinking it's okay. So now we have a primed layer. If I wouldn't do this now live, I would add some here, but I don't want to keep you waiting for more exciting things to happen than to watch me prime the thingy. So let's go onwards. This is one of the new colors of the Dual Effect paste called, Tiger's Eye Stone. It's this wonderful brownish golden color, and I'm using it to add some texture to the mask, but as well to color the embellishments. So now we are doing these areas, and it's a little bit tricky. I'm using a stencil for that, but as you can see, it's a really dimensional surface, so the odds are that it's not going to be perfect. It wasn't perfect in that one, but it's kind of the first layer, so it doesn't matter if it's not detailed. The other option would be to do the dimensional stenciling on top of tissue paper, for example, and then collage the tissue paper to this difficult surface, or not difficult, challenging, let's say. So I'm trying to push both the mask and the stencil as flat as I can, and then I go over with the paste. As you can see, I'm trying to use it, well, there's a teeny tiny hint of that. I'm trying to use a more flat surface of the mask than go with the highly dimensional part. Also partly because there's going to be the embellishments here, so there's no reason why I would add the paste there as well. And then to hide it, again, let's try to get some of this through. Ah, that's better. Now we actually have some kind of pattern there. And again, that's acrylic based product and somewhat fine stencil lines. So I put the stencil underneath the table in a bucket of water so I can clean it after the live, so it won't stick to the little grooves, and kind of fill those in. Then I'm using a brush and going through the raised embellishments, like I'm concentrating, the hot glue lines. So for that I'm using another brush and just lightly going over. Why lightly? Because I want to touch just kind of the edge and the raised pattern with this Dual Effect paste, then paint the whole thing. Another medium for this would be the waxes, which you can then easily control with your finger, for example, how much pressure you apply. But I wanted it to be the same product that I used to the stenciling, kind of carried out with different parts of the project. And also maybe give you an idea that even though this is a thicker paste, which is marvelous for stenciling or applying with a palette knife, you can still grab a brush and use it as a textural paint. And it has this really lovely shine and glitter. Laura says that this is a mask she wants to be seen wearing in public. Yeah, maybe a combination of this and the other kind. I named this the Butterfly of Venice because when I think about masks, I immediately start thinking about the celebrations in Venice, the masquerade. And then when I say the word masquerade, then Andrew Lloyd Webber starts playing in my head. Päivi's asking if this is plastic. No, this is paper mache. Eli siis ei ole muovia, tää on paperinen. Ihan askartelukaupasta tämmönen niinku prässättyä paperia. No niin, ihan. Then I covered the tube also with the paint, but no worries. A little bit of glitter won't hurt anyone. Here we go. Let's put that to the water and close this lid. Not sure that will hold anymore. Let's just put that one. Then let's hope that these will start drying while I make a paint. So for that I'm using this new Mica powder Winter Tales set. Because I thought that the blue and green tones here are lovely, and also it has this kind of golden tone that probably will go nicely together. Let's actually grab that as well. If you want to create your own paint using the mica, then the soft body gel mediums, soft gloss gel and soft matte gel are wonderful for that. I would recommend the gloss version because if you're using the mica, it has the beautiful shine of the mineral. Then with the gloss version, you are kind of letting that glitter shine as if we are using the matte version. Then that of course dulls the color. So I'm just adding some gel to a piece of plastic. That's kind of my palette now. And then adding the mica. As you probably know, the gel will dry transparent when it dries, so it looks white when it's in the jar, but when it's all dried, then it's transparent and kind of acts just as the binder for the mica. As the base now is white, it looks a little bit peculiar first because the paint, well, it hasn't dried translucent yet, so it affects the color a little. But after a while, you can then get this beautiful blue metallic translucent paint. If you would need a more opaque layer, then you could try to mix the mica powder to existing opaque acrylic paint, but that might dull because opaque in the paint is usually done by adding white pigment to the paint, so that might hinder the shine. Denise says that she has wondered whether to use the gloss gel or not. Of course you could use, for example, gesso, clear gesso as well, but it affects the final look of the paint. So that's why I recommend using the gloss gel, because like with gloss or matte lacquer, when you add the final touches to a painting, then that changes the look totally. If you use matte version, that kind of mattes everything, and the metallics also, so it doesn't sparkle and shine that much anymore. So that's why the gloss gel, as it kind of brings the shine better to be seen, then that's, in my book, a better solution. But some effects are really fun if you use the matte version. They act more like a grungy, maybe a little bit rusty kind of tones, if there is that shine missing. And now I'm just painting the mask with the self-made paint. The embellishments or the stenciled versions are not yet totally dry, so I'm kind of steering away from them, just adding the paint a little bit here and there, and mixing the couple of colors I created on top of the project. I'm using the same brush though, so they are mixing, so it's more like a one colored look anyway. Here we go. So here's the sample version, and here's where we are at now. So this is, even though this is shiny, this is shinier because there's the metallic embellishments, and that's the next thing we are doing. So let me move these aside, that one as well, and then we are needing the embellishments. The gesso in these is a little bit wet still, so let me try to speed things up with the heat tool, and hopefully I'll be careful enough not to melt them. Hello, Anna. Quick dry like that, these are okay. Yeah, they didn't start even heating yet. But if you overheat them, because the gesso makes them hold their shape a little bit better than if they have nothing on top, then just wait for the embellishment to cool before touching it, because sometimes they can kind of start melting and you don't realize that before you are starting to move them, as the glue is then held only by the paint layer on top. What I now added was the gilding glue on top, and then I use a wet brush, not too wet, to kind of cover the surface where I then want the flakes to adhere. I'm trying not to get the glue to my fingers nor to the table, because then the flakes will stick there as well. I do have a piece of white copy paper there, and I'm thinking I'm using that as the base when I start the actual gilding or adding the metallic flakes on top. Like so. Trying to get the glue to the grooves Hi Kara! Kara is asking if these are made with molds, and yes, they are. With Finnabair molds, using just hot glue and then black gesso on top. Kati kysyy, että voiko kiinnittää jollain muulla kuin tällä liimalla. Voi. Mikä tahansa, mikä jää semmoiseksi vähän niin kuin tahmeeksi. Eli ihan perus tuollainen askarteluliima, joku täkiglue-tyyppinen. Mutta silloin kannattaa niin kuin odottaa hetken aikaa, ettei vedestä sitä siihen märkään liimaan kiinni, vaan taas sen hetken aikaa kuivahtaa. Niin sitten tulee enemmän semmoinen niin kuin tahmea kuin täysin märkä liima, niin sen saa kauniimmin sen pinnan niin kuin kiilotettua. I was just telling that you can use some other glue than the gilding glue for these, but then, as with the gilding glue, you need to wait that it's more like a sticky than actually a gluey surface. Sorry for my English. But you need to be more like a little bit dried, sticky surface than all wet glue stuff, because then it's easier. I'm trying to clean my sticky hands. Then it's easier to get the flakes working, and you can kind of how do you say it, polish the surface. Whereas if you have a wet layer underneath, then you are just moving the flakes on top of the wet medium rather than being able to polish the surface really nice. Now, last of the sticky ones of my fingers, or then I'm going to be a gold finger, and really delicately picking up the flakes. This is kind of the first go. I'm just lifting the flakes and gently putting them on top. Kind of trying to, okay, now there's a huge amount of that purple here. We do want something else than purple as well. And as these are now sticky, rather than there's a wet glue surface, they get kind of drawn in immediately. And you can even use the little teeny tiny pieces in jars. I haven't tried these extensively, but according to my experience, there's always these bigger leaves in the jars and then the teeny tiny ones. And especially with these multicolored ones, I think it's fun to have the teeny tiny pieces, because then you get that multicolored surface and there's not big areas of one color, though they are more like a sprinkle thing. Kati says that she just received a jar of these. I said, perfect. Get great timing. I'm using these to make my embellishments really shiny and metallic looking. But you could add these to a painty surface as well, just by adding a couple of handfuls, or if you do pouring, then use there, or there's a wide variety of possibilities with these. Then itse asiassa kokeillut, että dippaisi tämän siihen purkkiin. Varmasti toimisi hyvin. Voi olla, että tulisi liikaa, mutta saisihan niitä sitten tonne niin kuin nosteltua tästä päältä sitä ylimääräistä. Karita was asking if I have tried to do this other way around, like dip the embellishments to the jar. And to be honest, I haven't tried. The one thing that comes to my mind is that maybe there would be too much sticking, but then you can go over it like I'm doing now and get rid of the bigger stuff on like chunks and put them back to the jar if they would be totally covered. Now I'm delicately first pressing the little leaf to the surface so that they are kind of securely in there. And as you can see, this is a perfect look for the weekend or Friday night or blingy blingy. Now I'm using a piece of paper, but if you would be doing this on top of your glass mat, for example, then you can use like a tape roller to get rid of the extra, or what I have used before is a clear packaging tape and just kind of trap the little pieces to the clear packaging tape and then press it onto a nice piece of patterned paper or an old book paper, and you have a collage piece ready to go with some bling in it. Am I going out today? No. Staying in, but a fun way to have a blingy look. Now I'm using, well, this is an old brush, as you can see, only the top is left. But with this, I can kind of, now that the flakes are secured and the glue is more like dried already, then I can go over the embellishment and really pick up the little details again. Am I in the camera? Somewhat at least. So by now you wouldn't believe that it's hot glue anymore because there's the mediums on top. Let me try. Sorry about the noise now. Come a little bit closer. As you can see, for now there's not that many of that little detail showing. Okay, now I'm off camera here. And now that I go through it with the brush, I can then kind of press everything in place and really reveal those little details again. So it's not just a clump of metal flakes on top, but a gilded version. Let's do that again. I'm guessing this is more interesting to watch than from afar, when you can more see what I'm doing. There's the little flakes dangling in the air, going to the table. If I would use a soft cloth, I could almost polish this, but even with a soft brush, you can get a really nice look. This is the Venice set, so there's gold together with purple and red, but there's other color options as well if this is not your cup of tea. Then, for example, here in the lady, there seems to be a bigger layer on her forehead that I need to remove in a way, as it's hiding her features. And now we have the necklace also here back, which was hiding underneath the flakes. Then the teeny tiny ones. And then we can continue. Oops. But if you would use some other glue than the gilding glue, then wait for a minute for the glue to dry before even adding the flakes, so that it's more, like I said, sticky than a wet glue surface. And then carefully start this phase. Depending on the glue, it might need to dry completely before you're adding the pressure to kind of bring back the details. Because it might stay wet longer. The gilding glue is fine because it's kind of a, well, sticky glue anyway. And I didn't let that dry that long. As you could see, I started with one, and then when I had everything painted, I could add the flakes to the first one already, because the surface was dried enough, sticky enough for me to add it. And then the butterfly and these embellishments, and we need something to adhere them with. So, heavy body gel it is. Now let me take the sample here so I actually remember how to put this on. Not that it has to be the same way anyway. So this is going to be totally different, as the lady is now so purple. And the fun thing with the hot glue embellishments compared to, for example, resin ones is this: they are bendable. So I'm now trying to get the embellishment to bend a little to this shape of the nose, so it's easier for me to adhere it in place. Hot glue is one of my favorite mediums to cast these embellishments. The only thing you need to remember is that they are hot glue and not to use heat tool intensively, because then they start melting. Then this one, and then the teeny tiny ones. Should I now say that, but wait, there's more, because there's still a little bit more glitter to this one compared, well, this one needs more glitter as that one already has that one. Because with a carnival mask you need that flamboyant look. These. And here in Finland this glue takes several hours to dry. So if something isn't perfectly the first time you put it on, it doesn't matter, because you are able to move it then. The heavy body gel is really heavy, so So it's kind of, in Finnish I would say that it has a swamp effect. So when you stick it down, it kind of sucks in, let's say, to the surface. But it doesn't hold gravity. So if I would put this like the wrong side up, then they would start falling eventually. But still it has this feeling of adheration immediately. Laura is asking which molds did I use. Actually, I think the other one is called Steampunk Queens, but I can't remember the name of the other one. Just a second, I'll check that one from my blog, because there I listed the materials. Let's say Grungy Frames. Oh, Vintage Portraits is the other one. Sorry, I remembered that one as well. Wrong. So this is Vintage Portraits and then Grungy Frame. So these are actually a part of a bigger frame piece. I just didn't use hot glue to make the whole frame, but more like the little embellishments. So then we need this one, we need that one, and then we need the other set, which is glitter set and winter again. The colors in these two go so nicely together with kind of similar color palettes. So even though it's spring, I'm using winter sets. Although it did snow today here in Helsinki, so maybe it kind of goes well to the season. So to adhere the glitter, I'm using the same gloss gel. Again, you could use any kind of glue, but well, this is something we have already used in this project. And again, it's glossy, so it will work nicely with that glossy glitter. And as it's somewhat textural, let's say, I can add a thicker layer in places and just a lighter touch in others. So I'm able to build this bigger cluster, let's say, of glitter. Because when you are able to glue glitter so that the little glitter flakes go to different directions, it looks more sparkly than if you would just add them in one layer. Because if they are in an angle to the other glitters like this, then no matter where the light hits them, it always sparkles. Whereas if you only have just kind of one layer, then it's just one layer that sparkles. So it's kind of one direction of the light. And then I just sprinkle the glitter on. Some blue there, and then, now that I still remember the bigger chunks, glass glitter. Usually you should start with the biggest grain size and then move to the smaller ones. But if you are having a blast and forget, then this one goes as well. But if you go from the bigger grain size to the smaller, then the smaller ones always kind of fill in the gaps of the bigger elements. So that was older glass glitter, copper tone, which goes nicely to the color of the new Tiger Eye Stone paste. And then a couple of colors of the blue glitter that's in the set. And don't mind the scribbles underneath, it's my notes for the live, because if you know me, then I'm working so much ahead, so by the time the actual live comes, it's been a month or several weeks when I created the sample project, so it's really handy, I've noticed, to have notes what I did, because otherwise I need to stare at the project and try to think what in earth did I put there. Karita is asking if these flake colors come separately, and she's asking about the purple. Unfortunately, that's not a color, if I remember correctly, that's sold separately. The more metallic gold and silver and that kind of tones are sold separately, but not the colors. Maybe in the future. Ja sama suomeksi, eli siis tällä hetkellä mun mielestä tätä liilaa esimerkiksi ei ole omana sävynä, vaan se on näissä sekoitelmissa, kun taas sit kultaa, hopeata ja enemmän tämmöisiä niinku klassisia metallisävyjä, niin niitä on omissa paketeissaan. Mut ehkä tulevaisuudessa. Then one more thing. I still have 10 minutes before Finnabair starts her live for the Patreon, so let's have that in good use. For this one, I used the vintage gold metallic wax to kind of add a little bit of golden tones here and there, because here the embellishments are mainly gold, whereas here they have another color. But I thought that I could try creating a wax of my own using this clear wax base and the mica set I have. Maybe a piece of plastic. Palette would be nice, but let's use this one. So a little bit of the wax, and then there is this golden kind of tone in the mica set. I wasn't planning putting that much, but hey, let's go with that. And then let's mix it. It looks a little bit dull looking at the moment, but I'm guessing it will get better when it dries. So I'm bravely going to add it here anyway. And well, if it doesn't come as sparkly as I wish, or as golden, then I can always add the ready wax on top then when this one is done. But there's so much you can do with the just pure mica by adding it to the different mediums or making it into a spray. Just here and there. I want a little bit more golden tones to the lady, because now she looks a little bit weird or peculiar with the whole purple face. There and here and there. And then I'll leave it dry overnight, so the gel will be totally dry. And when it is, then for example I can lift the whole thing from the butterfly because it's really sturdy. let's add some gold still. I'm feeling that I want a little bit more golden touches, so just here and there. Then I can get also a little bit of gold to the surface. There. Like so. Let's go with that. So there you have it. 2 masks. Both lightning dignity in fair Verona. Yeah, I'm not going to go Shakespeare on this one. But yeah, there they are. Just a plain simple paper mache mask, which you can then totally transform with mixed media. Only your imagination is kind of your limit, because you can turn if you can turn hot glue into metal embellishments, then then that's kind of setting the bar. It's not that difficult, just play with the mediums. Thank you so much for coming. I hope you enjoyed and picked up some ideas or techniques or tips for your future makes, and I'm wishing you a very nice Saturday evening. So see you again next month. Kiitoksia kaikille kun tulitte. Jos on kysyttävää, niin laittakaa vaan viestiä tulemaan, vastaan niihin ihan kohta. Ja kiitos. Thank you so much. Have a nice evening or day depending where you are. Bye!